In C or C++, you allocate with malloc and you must free every byte yourself, forget and you leak, free twice and you crash. In Java, you just say new and you never free anything. So who cleans up the memory? And how does it know what's safe to reclaim? That's the garbage collector, and this video explains it completely with a diagram for every step. Let's start with the short and sweet definition. Garbage collection is the JVM's automatic memory manager. It finds the objects your program can no longer reach and frees them for you, so memory is reclaimed automatically with no manual free. Hold that one sentence. Everything else is just how it does it. 2 regions. The stack is per thread and holds method frames, local variables, and references, the arrows, and it's freed automatically when a method returns. The heap is shared and holds every actual object. So the variable, the arrow, sits on the stack, but the object it points to lies on the heap. The heap is the GC's whole job. People say the GC cleans up memory, but memory isn't one blob. A running JVM splits it into regions, and the collector manages only one of them, the object heap, where every new object lives. Off to the side, in native memory, sit metaspace, which holds class metadata, the code cache for JIT compile machine code, and direct buffers used by NIO and NETI, and the garbage collector touches none of them. And every thread gets its own stack for frames, locals, and references, plus a program counter. Why care? Because the exact out-of-memory message names the guilty region. Heap space is a data problem. Metaspace is a class loader problem, and no amount of -xmx will fix that one. How does it know what's garbage? Reachability. It starts from the GC roots, live stack variables, statics, running threads, and traces every reference. Whatever it can reach is kept. Whatever it can is garbage and gets freed. Crucially, it's reachability, not reference counting. So 2 objects that only point at each other, a cycle, are still collected if no root reaches them. Most objects die young, so the heap is split by age. New objects go into the young generation, in Eden. Fast minor GCS clean it and move survivors between 2 survivor spaces. Objects that keep surviving are promoted to the old generation, cleaned by slower, rarer major GCS. Class metadata lives separately in metaspace. This design is why GC is efficient. Cheap cleanups where the garbage mostly is. Let's follow a single object, step by step, watching it move. Step 1, new puts it in Eden. Step 2, Eden fills, a minor GC runs, our object is still reachable, so it's copied to survivor S0, age 1. Step 3, the next minor GC copies survivors into S1. The 2 survivor spaces alternate, age 2. Step 4, once it survives the threshold, around 15 collections, the JVM decides it's long-lived and promotes it to the old generation. That's the complete life of a Java object, and you can see it hop region by region. Here's the trick behind minor GC is cheap. It does not visit the dead objects at all. Starting from roots, it copies only the live survivors into a fresh space. When it copies an object, it leaves a forwarding pointer at the old address, so any other reference that lands there is redirected to the new copy. Once every survivor is copied and every reference patched, it reclaims the entire old space in a single pointer reset, and the 2 survivor spaces swap roles. Because Eden is mostly garbage, copying the few survivors is far less work than examining every dead object, so the cost scales with what survives, not with heap size. 2 free bonuses. The survivors land packed together. That is compaction for free, and the next allocation is just a pointer bump. Now watch the actual heap change through a collection, step by step. Before, the heap has live objects A, B, C mixed with dead ones. Step 1. Mark. The collector traces from the roots and flags every reachable object with a check. Step 2. Sweep. It reclaims everything not marked, which leaves gaps, fragmentation. Step 3. Compact. It slides the survivors together into one contiguous block, so the next allocation is a fast pointer bump. Mark, sweep, compact, and you can literally see the cells rearrange. Modern low-pause collectors do most of their marking while your application keeps running, and this is how they stay correct. Every object is painted one of 3 colors. White means not yet seen. Gray means seen, but its outgoing references aren't scanned yet. That's the work hue. Black means fully scanned and guaranteed kept. Marking grays the roots, then repeatedly takes a gray object, grays its white children, and turns it black. When no gray remains, anything still white is unreachable. But there's a danger unique to running concurrently. The app can make a black object, already fully scanned, point to a white object, and at the same time delete the last other path to it. That white object is live, but it would be swept a corrupted heap. The fix is a write barrier, a few instructions the JIT adds to every reference write. G1 and Shenandoah use SATB, snapshot at the beginning, graying the overwritten reference, so no live object can ever slip behind the marker unseen. Java gives you several collectors, and choosing is a throughput versus latency trade-off. Serial for tiny heaps. Parallel maximizes throughput, great for batch jobs where a pause is fine. G1, the default since Java 9, is regionized and balanced, the right pick for most services. And ZGC and Shenandoah give ultra-low pauses, under a few milliseconds, even on multi-terabyte heaps. Want raw throughput? Parallel. Want low latency? G1 or ZGC. The default collector since Java 9 is G1, and here's how it gives you predictable pauses. It chops the heap into around 2,000 fixed-size regions, and each region is dynamically labeled Eden, Survivor, Old, or Humongous. Because regions are independent, G1 can collect a subset of them instead of a whole generation. Its defining knob is the pause target, -XX max GC pause millis, defaulting to 200 milliseconds. G1 predicts how many regions it can clear within that budget, and collects the ones with the most dead objects first. That's the name, garbage first. One thing to watch. An object larger than half a region is humongous and goes straight into old gen regions. So lots of big arrays cause premature old gen pressure. Mythbuster. You can leak memory in Java. The GC only frees the unreachable. So if you're holding a reference you forgot about, the object stays reachable and is never collected. The usual culprits: a static map or cache you never evict, listeners you never remove, a thread local you never clear, deadly in a thread pool, and unclosed streams or connections. How do you find one? First, watch the old generation after every full GC. If that number keeps climbing, live memory is genuinely growing. Then take a heap dump that is simply a snapshot file of every object on the heap and who points to whom, and open it in Eclipse MAT. Its dominator tree answers one question: which object, if freed, would release the most memory? That is your leak. Here is a question interviewers love. Allocation happens millions of times a second, so surely grabbing memory needs a lock every time? No, Eden is not handed out one object at a time. Each thread gets its own private slab of Eden called 8TLAB, a thread local allocation buffer. Inside its own slab, a thread allocates by just moving one pointer forward. No lock, because no other thread can touch that slab. Think of a buffet where each guest gets their own tray. You pile food on your tray freely, and only when it is full do you go ask for a new one. That refill is the only locked step, and it is rare. That is why the word new costs just a few machine instructions. And here is the expert twist. You just learned every object lives on a heap. Is that always true at runtime? No. The JIT compiler runs something called escape analysis. It proves whether an object could ever be seen outside the method that made it. If the object never escapes, never returned, never stored in a field, never shared with another thread, the JIT can scale or replace it, which means it explodes the object into plain local variables living in CPU registers. No heap object is ever created, so the garbage collector never has to touch it. So the honest line is, Everything on the heap is a source code truth, not a runtime guarantee. Now, a minor GC only collects the young generation, but an old object might hold the only reference to a young object. If the collector misses it, it wrongly deletes a live object. So must it scan the entire, huge, old generation every single minor GC? That would destroy the whole cheap minor GC promise. The fix: the old generation is split into small chunks called cards. Every time your code writes a reference into a field, a tiny piece of JIT code, the write barrier marks that card dirty. At collection time, the GC scans only the dirty cards, a handful of spots, instead of gigabytes of old generation. That write barrier plus card table is exactly why generational GC is fast. Last one, and it is the question that separates seniors. Moving live objects, compaction, normally needs the app stopped or references would point at the old location. Yet ZGC compacts while the application keeps running, with pauses under 1 millisecond even on huge heaps. How? 2 ideas. Color pointers. ZGC hides metadata bits inside the 64-bit reference itself, like has this moved. And a load barrier. A tiny check the JIT adds on every reference read. When your code loads a reference, the barrier notices if the object was moved and transparently fixes your pointer to the new address. The collector relocates objects in the background, and each reader repairs its own pointer on the fly. That self-healing is how pauses stay sub-millisecond no matter how big the heap. Java lets you hold an object with 4 different grips. A strong reference. The default is a grip so tight the collector can never take the object while it exists. A soft reference is looser. The GC keeps it until memory runs low, then reclaims it, perfect for caches. A weak reference is looser still. The object is collected at the very next GC once no strong references remain, which is how weak hash map avoids pinning its keys. And a phantom reference never gives the object back. It always returns null. You only get a notification through a reference queue after it's collected, used for precise native cleanup. Watch the weak case. Once the only path is the weak reference, reachability ignores it, so the object dies next GC, and the cleared reference is posted to a reference queue so code can purge its stale entry. When GC needs to stop all application threads, it does not happen the instant it decides. A thread can only pause at a safe point, a spot the JVM marked as safe, like a loopback edge, a method return, or an allocation. The collector raises a please stop flag, and each thread keeps running until it reaches its next save point, then parks. The wait for the last thread to get there is called time to safe point, TTSP. Here's the trap. A tight counted loop over a huge primitive array with no method calls inside may have no safe point check, so one thread runs on while all the others are already parked. Your 2 millisecond GC pause becomes a 200 millisecond stall. So when a pause looks far longer than the GC log's own number, suspect time to save point. You can't tune what you can't read, so let's decode one GC log line, printed by -x_log:_GC. The timestamp is uptime 0.756 seconds since start. GC3 is the 4th collection, a sequence ID you can grep. Pause young normal means a stop the world young generation collection, and the cause in parentheses is 8G1 evacuation. It copied live objects out of young regions. The numbers 24M to 5M are heap used before and after inside a 256M heap, so about 19 megabytes was garbage. And 3.156 milliseconds is how long every application thread was frozen. The telltale of a leak. If that before to after number barely drops, collection after collection, live memory is genuinely growing. What can you actually control? System.gc is only a polite suggestion. The JVM can ignore it, so never rely on it. The old finalize method is deprecated. For cleanup, use try with resources and auto-closable. For advanced caching, there are weak and soft references the GC can reclaim under pressure, and phantom references for precise cleanup. And you tune with flags, -XMS and -XMX for heap size, a flag to pick the collector, and GC logs to diagnose. The GC keeps whatever is reachable from a root and frees the rest. So, a C left-right arrow D cycle with no external reference is still collected. Interview questions on this. Rapid fire. Question: how does GC decide what to collect? Reachability from GC roots, not reference counting. Cycles are collected. Question: generations. Young, minor GC. To promote survivors to old, full GC. Metaspace for class data. Question: can Java leak? Yes, forgotten references keep objects reachable. Question: does system.gc force GC? No, it's a hint. Question: G1 versus ZGC? G1 equals balance default. ZGC equals ultra low pause on huge heaps. Now the part candidates ask for most. What real companies actually probe on this topic, based on public interview reports, not official statements. All product and service companies reported how GC decides what to collect, reachability, not reference counting. A generational heap, young-old, why most objects die young, stop the world pauses, and can Java leak memory? Yes. Follow up. If Java has GC, how does a Java app still leak memory? Amazon Google reported choosing a collector by goal, G1 ZGC for low pause, and diagnosing a leak, heap dump, dominator tree. Here is how the same answer is graded, from weak to excellent, so you know exactly what an interviewer is listening for. Question: if Java has garbage collection, how can it still leak memory? Weak, it can't. GC handles it. Good, objects you still reference, but never use aren't collected. Excellent, GC only frees unreachable objects. A leak in Java is unintentional reachability. You keep a reference alive, so GC can't reclaim it. Classic sources: a static long-lived collection you add to, but never remove from. Listeners' callbacks never unregistered. The observer leak, an inner class pinning its outer instance, and unbounded caches. The heap grows until out-of-memory error. Impress. Name the generational insight. Weak generational hypothesis. Most objects die young, so the young gen is collected cheaply and often. And how you'd find a leak. Capture a heap dump and inspect the dominator tree for what's retaining the growth. Red flag. Claiming GC makes leaks impossible, or confusing GC with reference counting. Quick favor, if garbage collection finally makes sense now, hit subscribe and turn on the bell. Every video goes 0 to deep with diagrams like these, and we post new videos and daily updates. Thanks, now the recap. Let's lock it in. GC is the automatic memory manager that frees whatever your program can't reach. The stack is automatic. The heap is the GC's domain, and it decides by reachability from roots, so cycles are collected. The heap is generational, eaten to survivors to old, and a cycle is mark, sweep, compact. Pick a collector by throughput versus latency. Watch out for leaks from forgotten references, and remember system.gc is only a hint. That's Java memory and GC completely. That's memory and garbage collection completely, with a diagram for every step. If it delivered, like, comment and subscribe with notifications on. We post new videos and daily updates, every 0 to deep. This is Codivora, Engineering Explained. Keep building.